Tehran, at the same time, as time is passing, is, as you know, working with the IAEA, at least in the direction of seeking a clean bill of health for itself, which, should this occur, will further weaken, I believe, Russian and Chinese resolve with respect to sanctions. The precondition that I referred to a moment ago in talks has been a serious obstacle. And it is our view that while zero enrichment would be enormously important to achieve, it seems to be increasingly more remote as a possibility. Our multilateral approach involves several basic ideas. In no way is this a fully fleshed out or indeed ready to negotiate full treaty. It would involve the participation of other governments in enrichment inside Iran, as I said a moment ago, using Iranian technology. It would involve joint ownership and operation of that facility. The multilateral partners would contribute financing and would share in the revenue. Iran would have to commit not to make highly enriched uranium, and also it would agree not to reprocess spent fuel or otherwise for plutonium. It would be hard without those two ingredients, as you all know, for it to make a weapon. And our engagement, we believe, through a multilateral facility would help in the inspection process by identifying key people in Iran who know something about enrichment and being able to follow and track their movements. There would be no research and development conducted on the nuclear fuel cycle outside the narrow confines of the deal we would arrive at. And we would insist that there be no military people or no military installations represented in the Iranian program. It would be limited to low enriched uranium of levels of enrichment sufficient to meet the needs of the civil program. Iran would certainly at a beginning have to accept the additional protocol, and as some of you know, Iran has publicly offered to go beyond this level. And of course, full transparency, if one can achieve it, would be the ideal. We know that no inspection system is perfect, but in this particular case, there are important possibilities both through the multilateral enrichment facility and through an additional program of inspections and monitoring outside that facility to be able to achieve what we believe could be high confidence about this issue. Iran would, of course, have to commit itself to a light water reactor program only. In return, the spent fuel either to its origins or to agree to an approach which would separate that fuel from Iran. There would be limits on technology transfer to the Iranians, although, as our article says, the approach cannot be totally one-sided. There have to be benefits in it for Iran, as well as in addition to conducting enrichment on its own soil. But we believe that help with current technology and help to make that work effectively would be a limited and strictly, I think, potentially acceptable approach to making this of interest to Iran, along with the fact, as we say in the article, that Iranian scientists might have, as a result, more access to the West and more access to their colleagues. Iran, of course, wins with its present approach to non-proliferation. And of course, we will lose in Iran if there is proliferation. We believe that the question of a breakout by Iran needs to be addressed directly. We propose doing that by having the whole arrangement accepted by the United Nations Security Council, and obviously have the Council prepared in advance to authorize punitive actions against Iran were it to break the agreement and move to nuclear weapons. To emphasize again, the best outcome, we all believe, is no enrichment in Iran, of course. But if we can achieve something with very effective transparency and very effective inspection, it may well be that, as Dr. Blix has just pointed out, this is better than a unilateral Iranian commitment not to enrich, but with very weak traditional safeguards or less as the basis for assuring, in fact, that that does not occur perhaps clandestinely and outside declared facilities. We hope that this approach can provide strong transparency. And Iran, of course, if it moves in this direction, will avoid its continued situation as an international pariah state. We see problems with this issue as well as any other. There are no perfect proposals. I believe there needs to be, whether this proposal goes forward or not, the kind of international nuclear fuel proposal that Dr. Blix has just talked about. And indeed, one variant of that might be that the International Atomic Energy Agency could possess a percentage of produced fuel which it would provide to any state maintaining its non-proliferation obligations. If this is preferable to Iran, which doesn't seem to be the case, no one would be happier. What's to prevent others from seeking the same deal as Iran? Well, there are a number of barriers within the proposal itself. First, the country has to have developed the technology and the capability. Secondly, the costs are very high. Thirdly, the limits that we have proposed putting on the production of this multilateral facility would themselves, I think, serve as a barrier for anybody who wanted to enrich but did not have an interest in a weapon in moving so. And then finally, I think the inspection burden would be very large, at least in the terms that we have proposed it. The question, of course, is what will Iran accept? We have really no idea, but we have had, in the course of our conversations with unofficial Iranians, at least some sense that there is an interest in this kind of proposal. Whether this will work or not, of course, depends heavily, not just on whether Iran accepts it, but whether others on the other side, principally the United States, are prepared to propose it. I cannot tell you, I've heard joyful noises here in Washington with the idea. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.